This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Osgood Perkins is having what we in the business call a moment. His last film, Longlegs, came out less than a year ago and ended up being one of the biggest horror films of 2024, mostly thanks to its marketing campaign, which both made the film the success that it became and cursed it into overhyped, not even that scary territory. But after all that hype, I thought it came out being a very handsomely directed horror film with a sleek visual language that I still got a kick out of. It has to leave you wondering though, how do you follow up something like that as a relatively new horror filmmaker on the scene? Do you double down and make something even more disturbing than Longlegs, lean into the aspects that gave you the buzz that got you here? Or do you make the dumbest movie you can think of? I'm sorry, The Monkey isn't a dumb movie. It's just, if these two movies are characters in the 2024 drama A Real Pain, it's pretty obvious who is who. That analogy works a little too well, to be honest with you, because while Benji is undeniably a lot sillier than his cousin, he still has a lot of depth, arguably more depth, at least on screen, than David, and he uses that silliness as a mask. Let's get into it before this turns into a review for A Real Pain, yeah? The Monkey tells the story of two twin brothers, Hal and Bill, who find an unsettling wind-up monkey and what happens when a series of deaths begin to occur after the fact. The film is a bit of a two-parter situation, the first part being this discovery of the monkey when they're kids, which eventually leads to the two brothers going their separate ways the more and more their family is affected by these events. We pick up many years later in the second part when both brothers are now adults and the monkey starts killing again. The film is adapted from a Stephen King short story that was part of his Skeleton Crew anthology, a story of his that is clearly not on the same level as something like It, Pet Sematary, The Shining, Misery, Carrie. I could go on. Not only because it's a short story, but I also feel like I expect something a bit more disturbing and out there with King's work. Something that cuts deep into fears from my teen years that I haven't confronted since. The Monkey, I've never really been that disturbed by. I love monkeys. It's a pretty straightforward horror story that leans into absurdity. Some would even say it's a comedy. And Osgood's take on the story, despite what you might think after Longlegs, is not far from the tone of King's original material. I don't know if the filmmakers would say this themselves, but I am calling this a horror comedy. There's no way around it. The climax of this film has a gag that feels like something out of a James Franco, Seth Rogen stoner comedy. And I mean that mostly as a compliment. When you take a step back, the film is almost too tragic and upsetting that had it gone any other direction tonally, it would just be a straight up bad time. And we already lived through that kind of experience fairly recent. As disappointed as fans of Longlegs' sterile approach may be, I think the choices to go kind of stupid with it really work in this film's favor. Besides, there were hints of comedy here and there in Longlegs. I remember people dunking on the Bill Clinton portrait being so prominently in the background of that one scene as being way too on the nose, even though it's clearly played for absurdity, in my opinion. And it's clear in The Monkey that Osgood came from the school of SpongeBob when it comes to wall art humor. There's a subtle joke in here of a picture on a wall that's so damn close to this bit, I have to call it an homage. The kills in general, without spoiling, as that is the entire appeal of seeing this film, are incredible. They remind me of the kills in the 1988 The Blob, where it's this wonderful blend of humor, gore, and horror. No matter how you're looking at them, they work. And to see a film in 2025 that I can compare to The Blob from 1988 is a big deal. There's a kill that takes place in a car that's just mwah. It's the kind of ridiculous choice that belongs in the 80s and doesn't look all that incredible technically, but damn is the idea just too goddamn fun to give a shit at that point. The first kill of the movie is incredible. I'm pretty sure it was at least partially practical. Cannot confirm that, but it sets the tone for the flick perfectly. Wonderfully absurd, very gross, well executed, loved it. It also has a cameo that right now specifically lands very well. If you can't tell, the film thrives most when there are kills happening. But it does beg the question, does it work all that well when they aren't doing all that? Listen, I'm not a horror junkie, but from my own experience, I can count on one finger how many horror films have worked as movies when they just stick to kills and minimal plot development. That movie is Evil Dead 2. That thing is a horror masterpiece in how it manages to carry itself on just these fun moments, a quality most horror films would die for. Filmmakers these days clearly have a drive to make movies that have that B horror movie quality, but I have yet to see anything that's able to fully commit. Don't get me wrong, a film is better off if there's some meat on its bones. That keeps it from being completely disposable, but in my opinion, when you try to shoehorn in some deeper meaning to a film clearly not built for it, it comes off even more disposable in the process. The monkey is a clear example of this. A shame considering this did have a lot of potential despite being just a Stephen King short story. For one, Osgood Perkins has a really tragic history with death. I don't usually get into filmmakers' business like this, but he lost both his parents to pretty horrible deaths, AIDS, and the 9/11 attacks, and they happened less than 10 years apart. Damn. A movie where characters die of the most violent and gruesome deaths often, and the lead feels in some way responsible because they keep happening around him, is an interesting jumping off point to explore trauma. There are moments in the script here that really stood out to me, like a line, "I know everybody dies, but not at the same time," or something like that. I don't remember the specifics. It rides a fine line of them being desensitized in a way, but not completely unaffected by the deaths that continue to occur. These deaths can be really funny, but there is a sense of sadness behind it all that you can feel, especially knowing where the filmmaker is coming from. Unfortunately, I can't say the film goes any deeper than that, or that I ended up being particularly moved by this side of the story. Much of the emotional weight here rides on the relationship or feud between the two brothers. While deaths play for laughs successfully, I don't think the moments where Perkins laughs away the trauma between these two brothers lands as well. It doesn't help that Theo James just isn't the best actor in the world, but I also can't blame it all on him. These moments are just plain stale, especially compared to the kills. They read a bit like someone who's uncomfortable confronting this part of his story, rather than playing it off for laughs as a way of coping. Also, a quick side note, this film has a recent pet peeve of mine in that it uses religion pretty lousily. Like, it means about as much as cults in horror films at this point. If you're not gonna explore it in an interesting way, shoehorning in weird Christian characters just feels corny and played out at this point. Just my 2 cents. The monkey falls short in trying to add all these other ingredients as a means of beefing up a pretty simple story, when in reality it should have just committed to what it was good at, because it's really good at the kills. I still consider it a damn good time at the movies, but damn is it disposable. Damn will I never think of this movie again. Longlegs may not have the kind of personality that this one has, but there is a real movie quality to that one that the monkey, as hard as it tries, just seems to be missing. All that said though, 2 films deep, I've decided I do like Osgood Perkins as a filmmaker. I think he's very good at this. The direction here is great, and damn, the dissolves go hard. No matter what direction he goes in, he knows the horror genre very well and what works about it. That's enough for me to keep tuning in. And that's what I gotta say. Thanks for watching. Go watch The Monkey and form your own opinion, and before you head out. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Squarespace recently introduced Design Intelligence, which combines 2 decades of industry-leading design expertise with cutting-edge AI technology to unlock your strongest creative potential. Design Intelligence empowers anyone to build a beautiful, more personalized website tailored to their unique needs to use across one's entire online presence. Squarespace makes it super easy to connect social and multimedia accounts in just a few clicks. As icons, direct links, or embedded feeds, you can build visitor trust while updating content only where you need it, extending your brand's footprint. And Squarespace makes it super easy to sell access to content on your websites, like online courses, vlogs, videos, and memberships. The opportunities are endless. Earn recurring revenue by gating your content behind a paywall. Simply set the price and choose whether to charge a one-time fee or subscription to access. You can go to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And when you're ready to launch that beautiful website, go to squarespace.com/Karsten to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.